Cool.
Good morning, everybody. This is the first interview for Prosperity Habits, I believe 88 lessons. I am here with Karen Karsten, and we're just going to kind of walk through their journey of prosperity this morning. Well, good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good morning, Vincent. I'm good.
Fantastic. And before we begin here, I just want to kind of give a brief what we're doing, I suppose. Uh, and really kind of just pose on behalf of Mickey that prosperity is the generosity of spirit that builds world peace. And really, the main question, or I suppose the first question, is do you believe that humanity can change and walk in peace?
I believe it can. I think it's going to be a very difficult journey, and I think right now parts of the world do walk in peace and prosperity, but there's a lot of destruction going on, and
Certainly.
destruction in our own country between these warring ideas, and prosperity doesn't really enter into that, which is, kind of like spiritual bankruptcy.
That's correct. I completely agree. I really do. All right. After we're done with kind of like the main bulk of the questions. I really want to get to know, like, you obviously being Mickey's mother, but like what side of Mickey you kind of know to an extent. But the first question I want to ask you, and kind of get your general opinion on, is what does prosperity mean to you personally?
It means having richness in every area of your life. It's really not much about the money, but it is about the money. So I think having a life where you have things that make you happy and have people in your life that you're able to help. And I think helping other people feel prosperous, whether they have the money or not, is important, because I think once you start feeling prosperous, that different things happen.
I completely agree. That's it's a little bit fantastic. And then what are the key mindsets or habits you have developed on your prosperity of journey?
I think one of the things that I have is I assume people are good when I meet them, and that they're in the world for a reason.
Hmm.
And sometimes, it's kind of like, making sure that you know what you have and what you're spending and all of that. But the part that's the most important for the prosperity journey is what you're doing for your own development and for, what makes your particular talent shine. I like I like to talk to people. I love coaching people, helping them find their best self, a self they didn't know they had. And my prosperity journey, I started out in a small town. We were poor. There's no doubt about that. But everybody in the town was poor. So
Hmm.
that didn't make any difference until we moved to the city, and there were people of all different wage levels and things like that. So I think, and I was a single mom twice, and I think you learn different things from the roadblocks in your life.
Very true.
And I think the things that you learn from those roadblocks either push you down or help you up. And it's up to you to decide what that is.
That's fair. That's fair. It's all about choices. A lot of it is.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, I like that. It sounds like part of you and your prosperity journey is making sure that other people are allowed to go on theirs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important part of everyone's prosperity journey is helping others begin there. So, what was the greatest movement of the old you lesson, I suppose, like that you learned through looking inward and adjusting your lens on money, emotions, and growth mindset?
I think that what changed for me dramatically was it was a long time ago now, but in 1992, my mother became ill and my husband became ill, both at the same time. I had a very good job at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually a career, and I was making a very, very good salary at that time. And I was working on a project that would allow you to retire if you had 25 years or more in service. And I had been dealing with this, both of them very ill. My mother was terminally ill at the time. And I thought, you know, when I looked at, and that's when I thought, well, I have 25 years in. I could do that. I could do that. And I didn't really look at whether or not I could live on that. I just
It's fair.
jumped.
Mm.
I jumped. I figured we'd figure out a way when I got there. And I've never regretted it, although people thought I was crazy at the time. But I had people that I loved that I needed to take care of, and I needed to take care of them in a big way. And I took care of my mother until she died in 1993. She lived about a year.
Wow.
And my husband is doing well. Took a long time.
Mm. Wow. It's impressive. Yeah, I suppose, sometimes in the journey of prosperity, you have to just take blind leaps on opportunities that you need to.
Well, that's the one thing is I learned to jump.
Yeah, and learning to jump, I think, is the hardest part for a lot of
And
people. Certainly is for me.
yeah, well, and if you don't know what's going to be on the other side, it's a lot harder to jump. So you have to make that decision.
Yeah,
And if you can't see what's down there, whatever it is, if it's better than what you got, you should just go.
yeah, that's entirely fair. Uh, so my next question is with that is where in your life do you still struggle with a poverty mindset, if at all?
I think there are relapses because you think that you don't have enough
Mhm.
sometimes. And really there is enough. I mean, I when I look at the totality of what I have for my life, there's plenty there.
Mm.
But sometimes it just there's that old feeling of you got to have more, and that's not true. So you have to talk to yourself. You have to talk to that person in your head that is saying, you know,
That's incredibly fair. I definitely understand, and it's one of those lessons that I'm learning now with everything in my life changing. It's like sometimes there is enough, and most of the time there is enough, but it's just learning that when your trauma response tells you that there's not, sometimes you just can't listen to the trauma response.
you can't. And I think the other thing that happens is that you kind of go back to comparing yourself to others,
Mm.
and it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
You're not that person. That's not your life. And you're happy with what you are and what you had before you did that.
yeah,
So it's kind of like it's an interesting thing that people have to unlearn. They have
very
to
much.
unlearn how to about this whole deal about keeping up with the Joneses and all
Mm.
of these things. And people are starting to keep their cars longer now, though, instead of
That's
getting a
fair.
new car every year.
That's
So
fair. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, you kind of have to at this point. That's fair. And then I suppose my next question with that is, do you believe that the journey of prosperity ends? Is there like a set point in which you don't have to go through your journey? Or is it
Oh God,
just a perpetual thing in which you are always learning?
oh my God, I hope so.
Eh, that's fair.
I think that uh, you yourself are the most valuable resource that you have in your life.
That is correct.
And I don't think you can give up developing that. I'm interested in lots of things.
Yeah,
And, I, sometimes there's a new thing I want to look at, and I write, and I have, there's lots of lots of things to do in the world, and most of them have to do with making yourself feel more prosperous, or that you're enriching what you have.
Absolutely. I can absolutely agree. Can you, with that, and we've been speaking about the journey, are there any points of inspirations on it that people, places, things that you've done that have just inspired you to continue or do something different on your journey?
Well, my children, both of them are an inspiration to me. My older daughter Sue is an entrepreneur as well. She's very good at what she does, and she's been through a lot of things that were very difficult, and I'm proud of her for that. And Mickey, of course, has been um, an inspiration to me, and I just think that she does so much in the world, and she needs all the support she can get most sometimes. And I think that yeah, there are lots of points in my life that I think are pretty terrific. I finally got my bachelor's degree in 1996 after I'd been going to school for 30 years.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that I could be proud of, but I don't really think about that. I think more about the next thing.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Uh, so with that, kind of like, the opposite of inspiration are the lows. So like, what is the hardest lesson that you've learned over your journey of prosperity?
That's a good one. But I think letting go.
Yeah. Is there something like letting go specifically or just in all areas of your life?
I think there are things that happen in your life, and you get kind of caught up in the fact that it happened or whatever it is, and
Mhm.
it keeps coming back. And I think you just have to let go and say, okay, that happened. We're done.
That's fair. That's entirely.
And breathing is good.
Yes, it is. Breathing and is good. So
Yeah.
with that, again, highs, what is your biggest achievement in prosperity to this point?
I don't know if I know the answer to that.
So,
If you're talking about prosperity of spirit, I think that have developed a practice of connecting to spirit, not in the Presbyterian way, but having a way to be able to connect with what else is out there.
mm,
I think for monetary prosperity, I I think I'm doing well, and it's not going to go away. I mean, it's not going to evaporate or anything.
yeah,
And yeah, my health is okay. That's the big prosperity. Working on that right now.
the health is absolutely a part of
Yeah.
prosperity. Because I know when I was laid real low a while back with some severe sciatic nerve problems and a lower lumbar problem, and like it's incredibly difficult to be prosperous when you're physically ailing.
Yes, it is. So I think there's all kinds of things that have to do with prosperity in all the areas in your life, the
Mm.
finance, the health, the spirit, all of that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think definitely to some degree, each and every one is a different journey, honestly. They kind of come together to form a whole, but they are certainly different paths. And all of them,
Yeah.
at least in my opinion, function very differently.
Well, there is one thing that connects them all, and that's art,
Hmm.
music and art. They're both very healing, and they both help all of those things. If you journal at all or um, write at all, that's
Yes.
one way that helps that develop a conversation with yourself and the outside world as well.
Yes.
And art and music both. There's no kicking in the editor. you 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 consume it immediately when you look at it or when you hear it. So I like that about it.
That's fantastic. And on the, biggest achievement thing, do you have any prosperity goals?
I think actually just continuing to develop what I'm working on. I'm writing, um, not a novel, but I'm writing, and I have quite a bit of poetry published. I haven't sent any out lately, and I don't know why, but I'd like to do that. And
So,
I'd like to help even more people
hmm,
see their own prosperity because they're all little gems in this big necklace of the world.
yes, they are.
When I see people that are um, tearing other people down, I realize that it's because they feel bad.
Hmm.
And you see all these mean people out there on the internet, saying things about other
Hmm.
people, and you think, oh, that person really needs some help.
That's incredibly fair. Um, I can understand that. That's fantastic. So how do you keep your growth going?
Well, I follow my interests for one thing. I like to make do some bookmaking,
Hmm.
not with money, but
That's fair.
and I have a couple of groups that I belong to online
Hmm.
that are very one of them I belonged to for a long time, and they're connected to art, and you get a lot of ideas from other creative people.
That's fantastic. I think it's important when you're on your journey of prosperity to be around like-minded people and have people that are willing to inspire you and communicate both your idea and their ideas.
Excuse me. That's right. And I
Uh,
think sometimes when you meet somebody that has a really very, very different worldview from you, there's a lot to be learned there.
oh, absolutely. And well, we'll touch more on the subject later, but that's how it was for when I first met Mickey, because me and Mickey still have very different worldviews, you know, very, very different. So it's been an interesting 10-year friendship, just kind of both of us truthfully learning things that we really didn't know, because we thought were absolute truths or things we didn't know absolutely at all, and just kind of walking through that.
Mhm.
It's been a little bit magical.
The overnight success.
Yeah. So what do you know now that you wish that you knew then?
That money doesn't buy you happiness.
That's fair. That's a good one. Do you think money buys you momentary happiness?
Well, if you have money, you can rent happiness for a while,
That's
because
I like
happiness
that.
isn't something that you get from the outside. It comes
Mhm.
from the inside. Happiness is an
Correct.
inside job.
Mhm.
And you can do things that would increase your chances of being happy. And that doesn't necessarily take money.
Right.
It might
That's
take other people. It might take, um, just something that you hear or do or say.
mhm.
And for the most part, no matter how crappy things are, you can choose to be happy.
That's fair. I agree with you. I do believe that happiness is a choice.
And it sometimes doesn't feel like it's, going to be a good choice. But yeah, I think you do. You have a spot in your heart and your mind where the happy lives.
Yeah. And sometimes I think it's also important to recognize when we personally can't always hold happy and find someone to hold happy for us for a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sometimes you need someone else to hold your happy, your little
Thing.
your little nugget
Yeah.
of sunshine. Just go, can you keep that safe for me for a little while? Because right now it's very dangerous.
Ooh, yeah. I have I have knowledge of that.
So do I. Mickey has actually been the bearer of my sunshine quite a few times, knowing her.
Well, luckily she doesn't run out.
She really doesn't. She really doesn't. So that's been fantastic. Do you have anything to add from any of those wonderful little anecdotes?
Well, I think that prosperity is definitely a mindset.
Mm,
It's not, it's not money. It is what money can buy. I mean, it gives you a lot of choices that you might not have if you didn't have money. But there are things that, I think one of the things that when I'm working with clients is to get them very crystal clear on who they are, very crystal clear on who they are and what they want. And a lot of people do not know what they want, what they want. They know what their husband wants them to want. They know what, we're the ultimate consumer. Everybody's telling you all the time what you want. And I think it's really hard for people to, especially women, just kind of settle down and say, okay, what the hell do I want?
I
Really?
completely agree. And I would argue, honestly, it's just as difficult for men, because a lot of the times men are very much told what to want. You know, I think women are the choice is removed almost entirely in most cases, and it's just like, nope, here you go, and they're given what they want. And I think men very often are just told what they want, especially by society and media and a lot of many various other.
Mhm. You're told how you should look, how you should smell,
Yeah, yeah.
what you should buy,
What
and how,
color nail polish to wear on your toenails?
oh, what color do you wear?
Oh, currently I wear these ones.
Oh, well, you have lots of choices for those.
I do exceedingly, just an exceedingly aggressive amount of choices for my nails at the moment.
That makes you happy.
It does, it does. For me, doing my nails was part of my prosperity journey, I think, uh, because I think part of the prosperity journey is kind of knowing who you are, and on that journey, figuring out who you are at every stage of your life, because we change as we grow and we evolve and we experience and things of that nature. Sometimes you have to reevaluate who you are as just a soul, and sometimes you have to reevaluate who you are as a physical entity. And I had to many years ago sit down and kind of go through a lot of self reevaluation for all of my things. So, yeah, it very much led me to a point where I was just like, nails make me happy.
And you went out in public with them.
Yeah,
That's another
absolutely.
thing. Yeah,
Yep. And just, having the courage, I guess. I don't want to say
it's
courage
courage.
because
It is
it's,
courage.
but like knowing that no matter how someone's mindset was presented towards me, it had no effect on how I felt about my own self because they're truly two different worlds. I don't need to accept anything that another person is trying to give
That's pretty deep.
me. Sometimes it has to be. All right. Now we don't have a lot of time
Okay.
because we're almost out here, but
Oh,
do want to touch just like with everyone on like a little bit of your relationship with Mickey. So
well, I'm her mom.
right, being Mickey's mom,
Being
what
Mickey's mom,
Mickey do you know? Do you know the teacher, the businesswoman, consultant, the community leader, fairy godmother, the friend, or is it kind of a combination of all of them, like me?
I know all of those. I also know the naughty little child, the
Hmm.
the amazing hairdresser that she used to be, and
Mm,
gave all that up when she had Karsten. I know her as someone who can make something out of nothing
that you can.
and can help other people do the same. And she has a strong heart and a strong wish to make things better.
Yes, she does.
And she acts on that. A lot of people have that wish, but it just stays a wish.
Yeah.
And she didn't want that just for herself. She's always been uh, wanting other people to share her journey from the time she was, what, you know, she learned to talk when she was about 2 years old, complete sentences, and she hasn't stopped.
Hasn't stopped. I love that. What is your, with knowing Mickey so long, what is your favorite Mickey moment?
My favorite Mickey moment was when she picked up that camera and started to look at the world through the camera and create art. Because
That's
I've
it.
always done that.
Mm,
I've always been making books or doing, artwork or something like that.
mm.
And she never really did that. And then one day it happened. She picked up the camera, she started taking photos, and then she started doing other things with the photos. And that the artist was born.
I love it. It's kind of like I can assume that it was kind of like a full circle moment because as parents, everybody wants to pass on some of their self to their child in every case. And being an artistic person, I'm sure that you wanted Mickey to be artistic in some way. So I'm sure
Especially
her picking up the camera, very full circle.
and especially her writing. She started writing when she started journaling, and I didn't badger my kids into doing that,
Hmm.
but just keeping track of things. And I think that her journaling to keep in touch with herself,
Hmm.
and then actually taking more confidence in her writing and presenting it to the world. And she does write some very fabulous things that
Yes, she
I
does.
I know she should be. I don't use that word should. Could be putting them together to present to the world in a different way.
It always comes out quite magical.
Yeah.
Uh, with that, because Mickey is a very eclectic human being, and I don't even know if eclectic is the correct level of intensity to describe it, because it is a little bit more than eclectic. Uh, but like, what are some of your favorite Mickeyisms?
Oh my gosh, she likes to use the word eligible all the time.
Yes, she does. It is a staple in their vocabulary.
Yeah, I've got a whole book of them here somewhere.
Uh, I love that.
Yeah, so I can get the book.
Yes, we love the book. Absolutely. We love them. You should write a book of Mickeyisms, a guide to Mickey Mike work.
Yeah,
Would be
yeah.
fantastic.
She has things that come out all the time,
Hmm.
and they're. Um, I'm always not surprised at what she writes, but I'm very grateful that she's able to communicate her position to the world, especially with Project Elf.
Yeah, I agree.
And these are all things that were not possible for her when she was a financial advisor,
Mm.
because it's a more of a left brain thing, and she's very good with numbers, and she still uses all that stuff that she learned.
Mm.
And I think my favorite Mickey moment was when I left my job with a financial company,
Mm.
and I had brought her in as a helper for me there,
Mm.
and I was leaving. I went to a different job,
Mm.
and I said, "You should take this job." She says, "No, I can't," because she was on welfare at the time, and she didn't want to lose all those benefits, and
Mm.
so she turned it down. And then her boss, my former boss, said to her, "Well, Mickey, when someone else comes in here and takes this job, it's not going to be your mom."
Yeah.
And I think that's what made her decide to take the job. And as soon as she got in that job, she realized that she could do that. She could be actually a financial advisor, not just an office manager.
Mm.
And forward from there. Yeah.
That's fair. That's
My
fantastic.
favorite Mickey moment is that, no, I can't do
There's always more than one. I have
that.
many as well. Many, many Mickey moments. And We'll get to that in my interview when the time comes. We have a few minutes left, so before we wrap up, I would like to ask what advice or introspection, whatever you want to put label on it, would you give to people on their prosperity journey?
Learn to say no and yes.
Both are very powerful in the correct situation.
That's right. Because I think sometimes when you said no to something, you might have been, if you thought a little more, you should have said yes.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when we say no, it's because we're afraid of what might change our life or what, you know. So I think being really clear about when you're saying no and when you're saying yes is really important for everything in your life.
Correct.
And never say no to pizza.
Never say no to pizza. I didn't yesterday. I said yes to pizza. That's fabulous advice. I appreciate it. Well, we've only got a few minutes left, so we're gonna wrap up. Thank
Okay.
you for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
It's
It's
been
hot here too.
absolutely a pleasure being able to go through your
I'm
prosperity journey with you a little bit.
I'm
Uh,
so happy to see you again.
I am absolutely thrilled to see you because it's been quite some time since we've been able to sit down and have a conversation. Uh,
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm kind of proud of myself right now
Good.
because there's been a lot of changes made. But thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to conduct this interview with us. Uh,
Okay.
and with that, thank you guys for listening and watching. Go with prosperity.